Monday Night Football. The Denver Broncos travel to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. Today, I got my favorite player prop, spread pick, same game parlay, and a first touchdown score for this matchup. What's going on? My name's Austin from Calling Our Shot, and Week 6 has been a crazy week. Very unexpected, a lot of upsets, but I'll recap how all of our Week 6 picks did in our Wednesday video for our favorite bets for Week 7. Sit back, relax, and if you're new, hit that subscribe button, drop a like too. NBA videos are starting up on Tuesday, so if you're watching this on Monday, they'll be starting up tomorrow morning, probably at 8 a.m., so make sure you set your alarm clocks for those. This is my final reminder. Speaking of the NBA, PrizePicks has that free square live until tomorrow night on Tuesday night with Stephen Curry to score just 1 point. I took advantage of it this past weekend, just waiting for that leg to cash. And if you sign up using our code COS, you get a 100% deposit match. So take advantage of that deposit match and that free square. Let's hop into my player prop for this game. Go Mike Williams. We're taking this under 70.5 receiving yards, minus 115 on points bet. Now, I've seen a couple books right around that 69, 68.5. I probably play it down to 65.5. Now, if you know Mike Williams, and I'm a big fan of him, last year I called him as my breakout fantasy superstar, and he was great last year. But if you know Mike Williams, you know how inconsistent he has. And if you look at Mike Williams' game log, you're like, yeah, I can see that. The last 2 games, though, 120 and 134 receiving yards. So he's finally had 2 great games back-to-back. This is normally where Mike Williams lays an absolute egg. Everyone that has him in his fantasy lineups is asking for a big night from him. Then he comes out and gives you 4 points. You're like, oh, I didn't deserve that, but I guess I did. Now that's Mike Williams, and let's talk about him because this is the perfect time to fade him against a very good Broncos secondary. Now, look, there's a risk in this line. Mike Williams is known as being a big play guy. He could go out there first play of the game, 75-yard touchdown, and this bet will lose. But I don't think that's going to happen. Now, let's talk about Mike Williams a little bit more. Likely to be shadowed by Pat Surtain II. Pat Surtain, one of the best corners and also a very tall corner. So he's not going to be as easy. You know Mike Williams, he goes up and makes contested catches. Not going to be as easy to do that against Pat Surtain. And they also should be getting back Justin Simmons. He was just designated to return off IR. He's their elite free safety. They need him back. I don't believe he's played a single game this season. If he's back, even better news for this Broncos defense. And Williams' last 3 games versus Denver, under in all 3 with 54, 39, and 63 receiving yards. Now, Keenan Allen is doubtful to play. If he does miraculously come back, even better for this because Pat Surtain's not going to go guard Keenan Allen. But I imagine Keenan Allen's out. Mike Williams will still get, his targets. He's going to see a lot of targets, but also, the Broncos defense is going to be looking at. They're going to know he's that number 1 guy, and they're going to want to put a lot of coverage towards him. I think we're going to also see a heavy dosage of Austin Eckler in the flats and running the ball. Now, at the end of the day, only 3 wide receivers have hit this over versus the Broncos this year through 3 weeks. One of them, Deebo Samuel. The other was Alec Pierce on Thursday Night Football, and then Devontae Adams. Now, yes, you got 2 big name guys there. Deebo doesn't go deep a lot like Mike Williams does. Alec Pierce was obviously not being guarded by Pat Surtain. And then Devontae Adams is Devontae Adams, one of the best route runners, best NFL wide receivers that has to offer. Give me Mike Williams. Take his under 70.5 receiving yards. I love you, Mike. I hope you don't have a great game tonight taking your under. Now let's move on and let's talk about my game pick. Now, I say spread pick at the top of the video, but sometimes it's a spread, sometimes it's an over-under, sometimes it's a team total. And I went back and forth on a couple different ones, but I settled on this. Taking the Chargers team total under 26.5 points. Now, no, I'm not saying Broncos come out here and win this game. You see me on a Mike Williams under and a Chargers team total under, but I just don't know if the Chargers come out. 27 points is a lot to score, especially against the good Broncos defense. Now, before I dive into it, I know some books have this at 24.5. Now, we do know, majority of times we'll see Broncos probably, if they're going to go under the 26.5, probably landed on 24 at the lowest. We don't see a lot of teams score 25 or 26 points, but be sure your line shop because there's a couple books at the 26.5. BetMGM is one of them. Now, look, I expect the Chargers offense to be able to do what they do, but the Broncos defense is as good as it gets, and I think the Broncos offense, which has been lagging behind the defense, at least get something going. Let's talk about the Chargers. Chargers, so far this year, scored 24, 24, and 10 points to start the year. So under in all 3 games to start. The last 2 weeks, scored 34 and 30, both on the road. Now they're back home. Maybe they don't know what to do with their offense at home, but still looking more so I like the Chargers team total under because of the Broncos defense. So far this year, Broncos 17, 9, 10, 32, and 12 points allowed. Only 1 team has hit this over. That was the Raiders a couple weeks back, and they've allowed the 4th fewest points per game this season at just 16 per clip. And like I talked about earlier, they should be getting Justin Simmons back, which would be a tremendous help for this team. Randy Gregory, I think he was put on IR. That doesn't help, but I still do think Justin Simmons is a big guy in that secondary that they're going to need. The Chargers defense, on the other hand, also has struggled this year. So I don't expect the Broncos, who, let's be honest, their offense has been anemic so far, to just be going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, giving the ball back to the Chargers offense consecutively. I don't expect that. I think the Broncos offense will be able to move the football a little bit. The Chargers defense just 24th in total yards per game, 24th in rushing yards per game. If there's anything this Broncos defense or offense has struggled with, it's 1, running the football, and it's 2, penalties. Now, they should be able to run the football against the Chargers, And if they can just hold down on the penalty, no, not hold, please don't. They've been holding way too much. They get a ton of false starts, a ton of delayed games, and really stunt their drives, and that's why they don't score a lot of points. If they can get rid of those two things, which they've had 10 or 11 games to fix since their last game last Thursday night, I think they can get it done, at least chew the clock, make this a slower paced game, which is how Broncos, I think, are going to win the majority of their football games this season. And last year, you look at the two matchups between these teams. Obviously, Russell Wilson wasn't a Broncos. Teddy Bridgewater starting in one game, and then Drew Lock replaced him. And then Drew Lock started and finished the other game. If you look at the Chargers, scored 13 and 34 points. So one end of the spectrum, they didn't even get close. The other one, they sniffed over it by 8 points. But that game they scored over. I think required a kickoff return. I think it required a 50-yard plus touchdown. Those things, those big plays you can't predict on. You can't count on if you're an offense. And ultimately, I just think the Broncos defense is capable of getting done. I don't think that I wanted to take the Broncos to cover, but I don't think the Broncos cover this plus 4.5 they're getting if the defense doesn't show up. So I think I'm going to take the team total under 26.5 points. If you wanted me to lean the full game, I lean the under, but I'd rather just take the Chargers team total under 26.5. I think that's a little bit safer than the full game over under. Now, let's move on to a same game parlay. You guys have been loving these. We're going back to the basics, how we've cashed out before this season. 2 touchdown scores and just an alt under. We're going Austin Eckler, anytime touchdown. Melvin Gordon, anytime touchdown, and the under 57.5 alt points. No, that's not the regular over-under. It's an alt line on FanDuel. This is plus 541. Now, we've had success taking the 2 starting running backs this season. We talked about, I think, a Thursday Night Football a couple games back. We had Najee Harris and Nick Chubb. We've also done it again, and I forget the other game. So I think these guys certainly can get done. I mean, you look at Melvin Gordon, didn't score in weeks 1 and 2, scored in week 3, didn't score in weeks 4 and 5. Does he score in week 6? I hope so. Melvin Gordon, we know, is probably going to get the ball at the goal line, and he had a decent game last week against the Colts. He didn't fumble in that game, so expect him to continue to see a good amount of carries. I'm not worried about Mike Boone stealing some touches at the goal line. That's going to be Melvin Gordon's spot. So I think Melvin Gordon getting in the end zone, and you talk about Eckler, guy that had 20 touchdowns last season. Started off slow, quietly, I think, 4-5 touchdowns over the last 2 weeks, obviously scoring in both games, also scored in both games versus Denver last season, and we know when they get near the goal line, Austin Eckler is actually that guy that they're going to hand it off to. He can also do it in the air. I think Austin Eckler is certainly capable of getting it done. So both those two guys that score a touchdown, taking an alt under. I don't think this is a crazy high scoring game. Even if it does go up 57.5 points, hard to go over. So plus 541, a little sprinkle on that. And then finally, to wrap it up, a first touchdown score. Now, I won't lie to you. Normally I have a good, we had a Joe Mixon one, we had a Mark Andrews one and whatnot. I don't really have a lot of good, analysis for this one. But I'm going Gerald Everett to score the first touchdown score at plus 1,400 on FanDuel. The best odds here, you see a couple other books at like plus 1,000, plus 1,200. Now, this is just a dart throw. I mean, every first touchdown score is a dart throw. Sometimes you get the popular guys that score like an Austin Eckler. Sometimes you get the random guys like Xander Horvath, the Chargers. And if Xander Horvath scores, good for him. I think he's done it already twice this season as the first touchdown scorer. But ultimately, I look at a guy like Gerald Everett. He's on the field a lot. He runs short routes, and the Broncos have a good secondary. They're going to need to throw those short routes. Herbert's going to be looking for those guys, and maybe Gerald Everett sneaks out on like a 1st and goal on the 2, and they just do a rollout, and Gerald Everett's the guy rolling out. Everett's good, can make people miss. He's had 2 touchdowns this year. I've seen crazier things happen. So Gerald Everett, first touchdown score, plus 1,400 odds. I know it's a dart throw, but it's the first touchdown score. They always are. As a reminder, though, PrizePicks, free square. Go check it out. You also get that 100% deposit match if you sign up using code COS and a 100% deposit match. I appreciate you guys as always for supporting the channel. Can't do it without you guys. Thank you guys all for 44,000 subscribers. Let's keep running it up. It's Austin, and I'm signing out. Peace.